Good morning everyone. In today's class we'll discuss about the various documents required to be issued under GST process. The first document, the most important document under GST is tax invoice. Now first, what is tax invoice? An invoice is a commercial instrument issued by a supplier of goods or services to a recipient. In case of invoice, it identifies both the parties involved, that is the supplier and the recipient, describe the items sold or services supplied, quantifies the items sold, shows the date of shipment and mode of transport, also specify the prices and discounts if any, and the delivery and payment terms. What is the significance of tax invoice? For the purpose of claiming the input tax credit, the invoice matching needs to be done. The inward supplies of person claiming the credit should match with the outward supply of the supplies of the supplier. We can see in this chart where the details of invoice furnished in the statement of outward supply by the supplier and details of invoice furnished in statement of inward supplies by the recipient. Now, if both the details will match, then only recipient can claim input tax credit. The next, who can raise a tax invoice? In case of a registered person who is supplying taxable goods or services will raise a tax invoice. In case the supplier is an unregistered person, then in that case the recipient will raise a tax invoice. The next is time limit for issuance of invoice. In case of supply of goods where the supply involve a movement of goods, the time limit for issue of invoice is at the time of removal. So at the time when the supplier is removing goods from his factory place for supply to the recipient, that time of removal will be the time limit for issue of invoice. In case where supply does not involve movement of goods, at the time of delivery will be the time limit for issue of invoice. When the goods are supplied on sale or return basis, in that case the time limit for issuance of invoice will be before or at the time of supply or within 6 months from the date of removal, whichever is earlier. In case of services, the time limit for issue of invoice is within 30 days from the supply of services. In case of insurance and banking services, the time limit for issue of invoice is 45 days. In case of continuous supply of goods, the time limit for issue of invoice is before or at the time each successive statement of account is issued or each successive payment is received. In case of continuous supply of services, if the due date of payment is ascertainable from the contract, in that case on or before due date of payment will be the time limit for issue of invoice. If the due date of payment is not ascertainable from the contract, in that case before or at the time of receipt of payment will be the time limit for issue of invoice. If the payment is linked to the completion of an event, in that case the date on or before completion of that event will be the time limit for issue of invoice. For example, Ritu Manufacturers Delhi supplies goods to Prakhar Electronics Haryana. The goods were removed from its factory in Delhi on 23rd September. Ritu Manufacture needs to issue, in this case the time limit for issue of invoice will be on or before 23rd September, the date when the goods are removed from the factory of Ritu Manufacturer. Another case, Katyani Security Services Limited provides security services to Royal Jewelers for their jewelry exhibition to be organized on 5th October. Katyani Services needs to issue a tax invoice within 30 days from the date of service. So 30 days from 5th October, then in this case the time limit for issue of invoice will be 4th November. The next case is regarding continuous supply. The Janvi Cinemas entered into an annual maintenance contract with Pier Services Limited for 1 year for the air conditioners fitted in their theatre. As per the contract, payment for said services had to be made on 7th April. However, Janvi Services made the payment on 15th April. Since services are provided by Pier Services Limited is a continuous supply of services and due date is ascertainable from the contract, in that case the last date for issue of invoice is on or before 7th April. Now, important contents of tax invoice we can see from the format also. Here we include the name of the supplier, address, email ID, GSTIN number and invoice number, date, tax payable under reverse charge. We also see in case of tax invoice we include details of receivers, the detail of consignee. Apart from that, the description of goods and services, HSN code of the goods, ASN code of the services, quantity, unit, rate per item, total, discount, taxable value and the type of GST. So these kinds of information will be included in tax invoice. Now, manner of issuing the invoice. In case of supply of goods, the invoice is issued in triplicate. The original copy is for the recipient, duplicate copy for the transporter and triplicate copy for the supplier. In case of supply of services, invoice is issued in duplicate, original copy for recipient and duplicate copy for supplier. The serial number of invoices issued during a month or quarter shall be furnished electronically in form number GSTR 1. Now next is revised tax invoice. When the revised invoice is issued, every registered person who has been granted registration with effect from a date earlier than the date of issuance of certificate of registration to him may issue revised tax invoices. Such invoices shall be issued against the invoices already issued during such period. Revised tax invoices shall be issued within 1 month from the date of issue of certificate of registration. This provision is necessary as a person who becomes liable for registration has to apply for registration within 30 days of becoming liable for registration. When such an application is made within the time period and the registration is granted, the effective date of registration is the date on which the person became liable for registration. So in this case, the time lag between the effective date of registration and the date of issuance of certificate of registration, during this period, whatever invoices issued by the supplier, a revised tax invoice may be issued for those issued invoices. For example, Sarabhai Private Limited commenced business of supply of goods on 1st April in Delhi. Its turnover exceeded 40 lakhs on 3rd September. So he became liable to registration on 3rd September. He applied for registration on 29 September and granted registration certificate on 5th October. Since it applied for registration within 30 days of becoming liable to registration, in this case Sarabhai Limited may issue revised tax invoices in respect of taxable supply effected between 3rd September and 5th October. Another type of a tax invoice is consolidated tax invoice. In when a consolidated tax invoice can be issued when the taxable value of supply is less than 200 rupees, or the recipient is an unregistered person, or recipient does not require such invoice. In such conditions, the supplier can issue a consolidated tax invoice at the end of each day in respect of all such supplies. For example, Mr. A, registered supplier, supplied goods to Mr. B, unregistered recipient, supply 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, instead of issuing separate invoices for each supply, he can issue a consolidated tax invoice to Mr. B. However, in case of interstate supply, a consolidated revised tax invoice can't be issued in respect of all unregistered recipient if the value of supply exceed 2,50,000 rupees. The next type of invoice is supplementary invoices. Supplementary tax invoice is a type of invoice that is issued by a taxable person in case where any deficiency is found in a tax invoice already issued by a taxable person. And this supplementary invoices can be in the form of a debit note or credit note. We'll discuss the debit note and credit note at the end of this topic. What is the difference between now if we conclude the revised invoice and supplementary invoice? Revised invoice may be issued by a taxable person in relation to any invoice already issued by him. The supplementary tax invoice has to be issued by a taxable person in case where any deficiency is found in a tax invoice already issued by a taxable person. In case of period covered, in revised invoice, the period starting from the effective date of registration till the date of issuance of certificate of registration. The supplementary invoices are not issued on the basis of period. The revised invoice is issued only to the registered person. Supplementary invoice can be issued to unregistered person also. When the supplier is an unregistered person, in that case, or he is supplying exempted goods or services, or supplier has opted for composition scheme, in all these three cases, the supplier can't issue a tax invoice. In that case, instead of issue tax invoice, he will issue bill of supply. The bill of supply is also same contents included as tax invoice except the tax amount. Since the supplier is an unregistered person, he can't collect tax, so no details of tax will be mentioned in the bill of supply. The next is receipt voucher. The receipt voucher is issued by the supplier to the recipient against the advance payment made. In case of advance payment, the supplier does not issue a tax invoice. He issues receipt voucher. The format of receipt voucher is again same as tax invoice. The refund voucher, when the recipient already make advance payment to the supplier, but because of any reason, if the supply is not executed or the supplier is an unregistered person, he has not issued any tax invoice, or because of any reason the contract is cancelled, order is cancelled, in that case the supplier will issue a refund voucher to the recipient. The refund voucher format also here for your reference. The next is issuance of credit note. When a credit note is to be issued where a tax invoice has been issued for supply of any goods or services or both, where the taxable value in the invoice is more than the taxable value in respect of such supply. For example, the taxable value in the invoice mentioned is 20,000, but actually the value of supply is 18,000. In that case, the taxable value is more than the actual value, or the tax charged in invoice is greater than the tax payable in respect of such supply, or the goods were supplied or returned by the recipient, or later on the recipient found goods to be deficient. In all these cases, the supplier will issue a credit note in favor of the recipient. For example, Kapoor Private Limited supplied goods worth rupees 1 lakh to Messrs Sharma Trader on 1st April 2018. A tax invoice of an equivalent amount was issued to Messrs Sharma Trader on the same day. Messrs Sharma Trader made payment against the invoice. However, Messrs Sharma later realized that certain goods were of poor quality and hence decided to return the goods. Goods worth rupees 20,000 were returned to Kapoor Limited on 20th April 2018. Since goods were returned, the Kapoor Private Limited will raise a credit note in favor of Messrs Sharma Limited. Any registered person who issues a credit note in relation to supply of goods or services or both shall declare the details of such credit note in the return for the month during which such credit note has been issued. Because of any reason, if he has not declared that detail, then the last date for declaration is September following the end of the financial year in which such supply was made, or the date of furnishing of the relevant annual return, whichever is earlier. Just opposite of credit note, when the debit note is issued when the taxable value in invoice is less than taxable value in respect of such supply, or the tax charged in the invoice is less than the tax payable in respect of such supply. In this case, the registered supplier will issue a debit note in favor of recipient. The time limit for declaration of details of debit note is same in case of credit note. You can see the format of supplementary invoice, debit note or credit note. Now we'll discuss the payment process under GST. In case of GST, four types of GST can be made. One is CGST, SGST, IGST and UTGST. Apart from that, the tax deducted at source or tax collected at source, and interest, penalty, fees and any other payment wherever applicable. The key features of payment process under GST: electronically generated challan from GST and common portal in all modes of payment, and no use of manually prepared challan. Facilitation for the taxpayer by providing hassle-free, anytime, anywhere mode of payment of tax. Convenience of making payment online, from anywhere, anytime, the taxpayer can make online payment. Logical tax collection data in electronic format. Faster remittance of tax revenue to the government. Paperless transactions since the whole process is online. Speedy accounting and reporting is possible. Electronic reconciliation of all receipt. Simplified procedure for banks also, and no need of warehousing of physical challan in case of payment process under GST. Now three types of e-ledgers are prepared under GST payment process: electronic cash ledger, electronic credit ledger, and electronic liability register. Electronic cash ledger, it will reflect all deposits made in cash and TDS, that is tax deducted at source, and TCS, that is tax collected at source, made on account of the taxpayer. This ledger is used for any type of payment, either tax, interest, penalty, fees, or any amount on account of GST. The electronic cash ledger is like a ledger where the left hand side is your credit side, right hand side is your debit side. All receipts are recorded in the left hand side or the credit side. All liabilities or the payments are made or recorded on debit side. In case of deposits of cash in electronic cash ledger, the modes can be either internet banking, credit note, credit card, debit card, online payment, net banking, NEFT, RTGS. Any kind of mode can be used. If the taxpayer wants, he can pay offline also over the counter, but the limit is 10,000 rupees per challan per tax period. Now electronic cash credit ledger shows the input tax credit available to the taxpayer. The input tax credit can be utilized if input tax credit of IGST is available. It first used to set off IGST, then it can be used for set off CGST, then SGST or UTGST. If input tax credit of CGST is available, it can be used first to make payment towards CGST, then IGST, but CGST credit can't be used for SGST and UTGST. Another case where SGST credit is available, SGST credit can be used to set off against payment of IGST, but no CGST. And input tax credit of UTGST can be utilized towards first set of UTGST, then IGST, but UTGST can't be used for set off against CGST. The third electronic liability register, it shows the net liability of the taxpayer. The order of discharge of liability of taxable person is first all dues related to previous tax period, then next order of discharge is dues related to current tax periods, and the next order is demand determined under section 23 and 74. Interest on delayed payment of tax under section 50. If a person pays unpaid amount on his own, in that case the interest rate will be 18% per annum. If any registered person undue or excess claim input tax credit or excess reduction in output tax liability, the interest chargeable will be 24% per annum. Thank you very much.